What we're going to do today is we're going to get you guys really good at reading comp. And this is kind of how we're going to do it. So we're going to do some welcomes and introductions. We're going to do some short drills because there's some things they didn't tell you about how reading comp works. We're going to get you good at that with some drills. And then we're going to move on to some passages as well, including the dreaded hard science passages. We got kind of no idea what's going on. And I promise this will be the most boring slide you see today. This is about me. My name is Bruce. I've been coaching the GMAT and the GRE for over 10 years. I've done it at UCLA. I did it at my own first choice admissions, and now I'm doing it here at Leland. And sometimes I chat with the media a little bit about test prep and standardized tests and getting into grad school and all that kind of stuff. But what we're going to do today is we're going to learn kind of the essential skill for nailing advanced questions for reading comp. And this has a lot to do with reading in a way that nobody ever taught you how to read, and reading in a way that's completely non-intuitive. And it's really about reading and interpreting the questions and the evidence hyper literally. And if during this presentation you want to call it stupid literally, I won't argue with you. It really, really is very, very specific. So the other thing you'll probably also do today is you'll start arguing with the test. I do it all the time. And you know what? I encourage it. It's fine. But just remember, even if you have a good point, and even if you are right, you're wrong. Because the test is the one that gets to decide where to draw the lines on what you get to infer or assume and what you don't. And the test is always right. What I'm going to do today is just show you where those lines are so you can be comfortable with them, so you can nail the questions. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to start off with some drills. And these drills are really designed to show you how you have to interpret the questions and how you have to interpret evidence. So in each of these drills, I'm going to have something highlighted in blue. And that is going to be an honest to goodness statement of fact. And then what we're going to try and do collectively is figure out how many of the answer choices underneath we're allowed to assume or infer based on that sentence that we're given as fact, that sentence in blue. Now, this is just a drill, so maybe all of them are right, maybe none of them are right, but we're going to go through each one. And as we go through these, you guys are going to start to see kind of where the GRE draws these lines. And it's probably going to be a little uncomfortable at first, but after you do it over and over again, you're going to see, oh, I get where they're drawing the lines. And the GRE is actually fairly consistent with it. So let's draw this first one. First one is the dog ate breakfast. So that's a fact. Can we infer or assume that someone fed the dog? Now, here's the hint. We need to find evidence for any answer choice we choose. Is there any evidence that someone fed the dog? And in this case, no. We would need to be given, like, you know, Fred fed the dog or a neighbor fed the dog. We need to look for evidence. There is no evidence. B, the dog was hungry. Can we assume or infer that? Turns out we can. You're allowed to make incredibly very short and very straightforward assumptions. And notice that the assumption that the dog was hungry, what's your evidence? Well, the dog ate. Now, can you spin some sort of story? Well, the dog ate, but the dog wasn't hungry. Yeah, you can. But as soon as you start feeling yourself spin those stories, you're getting further and further away from the type of assumptions the GRE is going to let you make. GRE dogs eat because they're hungry. Number 3, the dog likes breakfast. We have no idea how delicious the dog found its breakfast or not. We don't know. We just know he ate it. And finally, the dog ate in the morning. We can assume that the GRE is not casual with its words. It said breakfast. Breakfast is the morning meal. And so the dog ate in the morning because the dog ate breakfast. Your evidence is the dog ate breakfast. You didn't choose that word. The GRE did. Let's try another one. According to scientists, global warming caused a 10% decrease in the population of sardines in several locations in cold waters of the Pacific last year. Okay. What about this first one? Can we assume or infer that there are fewer sardines this year than there were last year? About that for a second. Certainly looks good, but we can't. This is something worth writing down. On the GRE, a specific thing is not a general thing, and a general thing is not a specific thing. There are absolutely fewer sardines in several locations in cold waters of the Pacific for sure, but the overall sardine population, we have no idea. What about this one? Global warming is harming the environment. Do we have any evidence in that sentence to suggest global warming is harming the environment? Nope. They never say environment and they never say harming. They're dangling the assumption in front of you, right? Like somehow a 10% decrease in the population of sardines in these places is harming the environment, but we don't know that for sure. We're never told, and we're not allowed to assume. We have to be given the evidence. What about the next one? Global warming is harming the marine ecosystem in several locations in the Pacific. Boy, this one is a lot more enticing because it's really specific. But this one has the exact same problem as the one before it has. They never say that it's harming anything, and we would have to be told that it's harming the marine ecosystem. All we're told is there's a 10% decrease in the population of sardines. We are not told whether that's harmful or not, and we're not allowed to assume. Sardine populations are monitored in several locations in the Pacific. That we actually do have evidence for because they're literally counting the number of sardines because they know they're going up or down. Scientists understand the cause of the decrease in the population of sardines in several locations in the Pacific. We can actually assume that as well because we don't need to assume it, right? We have evidence for it. According to scientists, global warming caused a 10% decrease in the population of sardines. Good. Starting to kind of like dial in and get it a little bit. It's really specific, right? Let's try another one. This one is identical to the last one. I've changed one word. There's just one word difference. According to scientists, global warming caused a 10% increase in the population of sardines in several locations in cold waters of the Pacific last year. All right. There are more sardines today than there were last year. We know for sure that's not true. Global warming is not harming the environment in certain areas of the Pacific. You know what? They never say the environment, and they never say whether it's harming or not. We have no idea. There are more sardines this year than there were last year in certain locations in the Pacific. That we do know, right? Because in certain locations in the cold waters of the Pacific, that is absolutely true. We know that for a fact. Sardine populations are monitored in several locations of the Pacific. Yeah, for sure, because we know that the populations are going up and down. There are places in the Pacific where sardine populations are not monitored. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. All common sense will tell you there's no possible way we were monitoring every single square inch of the Pacific for sardines. Unfortunately, are we allowed to use common sense? No, this is the GRE. We're only allowed to use what we're given. We have no idea if they're places where sardine populations are not monitored. If you had said, well, yeah, I think that's right, ask yourself the follow-up question. Name the places. We don't know. We're never told that. Let's try another one. Nadia was driving her car in Las Vegas on a day that recorded record-breaking heat in Las Vegas. As the temperature peaked at 117 degrees Fahrenheit, Nadia's car broke down. All right. See what we have here. Nadia has a car. Do we have any evidence that shows us that Nadia has a car? We actually do. Nadia was driving her car. Again, the GRE is not casual about language. They use the word her. We didn't. Can you spin a story about how it's maybe a rental car or she borrowed it from her aunt or all that? Yeah, you can, but you want to stick closest to the most straightforward, direct, straight line kind of assumptions possible and inferences possible. B, Nadia's car overheated. Nope. We have no idea what happened to Nadia's car. This is also worth writing down. Just because two things happened at the same time does not mean that one thing caused the other thing. Yes, it got very, very hot. And yes, Nadia's car broke down. But we don't know that the heat was the cause of Nadia's car breaking down. She could have had a flat tire. Maybe her transmission went. We have no idea. The temperature was less than 117 degrees during the day. Do we have any evidence to support that statement? We do. Peaked. They say peaked. Again, you didn't use the word peaked at 117. They did. That means it was less than 117. Then it became 117. Then it went less than 117. On that day, Las Vegas was hotter than any other place in the United States. No, we have no evidence to suggest that that is true. And this brings us to something that's also very important. When you're doing reading comp, I want you guys to be very, very skeptical of comparison answer choices. In other words, for this to be true, whenever you have a comparison, you have to be given objective evidence and data on each side of the comparison so that you could literally make the comparison. So you have enough data to make the comparison. Now they can do it, but in this case, we'd have to know literally all the temperatures of every other place in the United States. What usually happens is they just don't give you enough information. Last one, Nadia's car performs better in cooler weather. This is a great example of another comparison. We have to be given data on how well Nadia's car performs in cool weather. We have no data on that. We have no idea. And how well does her car perform in warm weather? We don't really even have any data on that too. We just know that it broke down once. Again, we're not given enough objective evidence to make that comparison. All right. Is this starting to kind of make a little bit more sense to you guys? It's so literal. It is just so stupid literal. Let's try another one. I haven't changed a word. We still have Nadia. She's still driving her car. It's still 117 degrees in Las Vegas. Temperatures are tracked in Las Vegas. Absolutely. They know it's record breaking. They know it peaked. We're absolutely tracking it. The temperature that day never reached 118. Yup, it peaked at 117. Nadia knows how to drive. What's our evidence that Nadia knows how to drive? She's driving. Again, can you spin a story? Like Nadia had her car parked in the car and she knocked the emergency brake with her elbow. And now she's kind of careening down a mountain out of control. Sure, but you want to make very, very, very straightforward, very short assumptions on the GRE. Nadia arrived to her destination later than she anticipated. We don't know that. For this to be right, we would have to be given two pieces of information: what time Nadia planned on arriving to her destination and what time she actually arrived at her destination. We are given neither of those pieces of data. And last, the temperature rarely reaches 117 in Las Vegas. Do we have some evidence to support that statement? We do. Record breaking would be your evidence. All right, let's try another one here. The math test was hard for the student. The English test was easy for the student. All right, first one. The student is not good at math. Do we have any evidence to suggest the student's not good at math? Now, we need grades or something. We found the math test hard, but that's not evidence they're not good at it. The student is good at English. We have the same problem with this. We don't know what the student's grades are at English. We have nothing here. The math test was harder than the English test. Now, this is a comparison. For this to be right, we have to have a lot of objective data on how hard that math test is. I don't know, maybe historic data on how students have done on that math test, or on the math test, as opposed to the English test, right? Well, we don't have any of that. We have no idea if that's true or not. Comparisons, we have to be really careful about them. Now, it is possible to do them, though. Take a look at this one. The math test was harder for the student than the English test. Yes, that we know. We're actually being told that. Through the student's eyes, we know. But they had to make that comparison very carefully through the student's perspective, or else we can't make that comparison. The student did better on the English test than the math test? No, we're not given grades. We have no idea. Is that making sense to everybody? Or making sense might be too much of a stretch. Is everyone starting to get catch on to the game here? Because that's what's really going on, right? That's the game that we're playing here. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this boot camp. So take it away, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I do, Bruce, I've had a couple folks ping me and let me know they're in the waiting room if you're able to let them in.
Oh,
Just excited to have everyone here.
got it. Hang
You've
on.
been deep in the flow, which we've all appreciated. Um,
Yes.
but we're really excited to share about the GRE Bootcamp. Again, if you haven't entered the giveaway, the link is in the chat. For anyone interested in joining that giveaway, we have this 18-hour, 12-session course that's starting on January 14th. It'll be held on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and Bruce will be our expert instructor, and he is going to go in great detail into everything you need to know to succeed on the GRE. We'll be hitting all of the different frameworks and formulas for success on the quant side, on the reading comprehension and verbal side, and essentially this is your path to success. Especially if you typically might not be able to work with Bruce as a one-on-one coach, this is the perfect way to get all of his expertise packaged into this course, and you can see here the detail that we're getting into in this course. It's a great alternative to working with Bruce one-on-one. It includes over $6,000 worth of value if you were to just buy this outright working with Bruce, all for the price of $11.99. And a couple additional things to that. Bruce, if you could jump to the next slide.
Yeah.
Um, one of you here tonight will get a free seat in this boot camp, and everyone else who enters this giveaway will get a $400 off coupon to join this boot camp. So highly encourage all of you to join. It's everything you need. You'll get all of the question banks, the test prep resources, and Bruce's in-depth instruction on all of these problem types. It'll be more interactive than these free events, and a lot more valuable than what you'll get here tonight, even though this is already so helpful. So again, enter the giveaway. The link's in the chat. And excited to announce later who is the lucky winner here on the event tonight. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Bruce.
Okay, thanks, Nick. All right. So my apologies for folks who are just let in off the that we're in the waiting room. The good news is we're going to be doing the very same thing that we did in those drills, but instead of simply giving you one sentence and then looking for evidence to support each answer choice, now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to some basically small reading passages is what we're going to do. So go ahead, take 1 minute. I'm going to give you guys 1 minute to read this. And after you're done, we're going to go through each one of these answer choices and see if we have evidence to support each answer choice. Go! About 30 more seconds. Five more seconds. Okay, let's talk about each one of these. And remember, we have to have evidence to support any answer choice we choose. So the first one, Nia changed industries. I think we have evidence, very strong evidence to suggest she did not change industries. Nia was offered a job in the same industry. That is not correct. Nia left in part because of Kurt. Do we have any evidence to suggest that Nia left in part because of Kurt? We do not. We have no idea why Nia left. They don't tell us, and we can't assume it was because of Kurt. Maybe Nia got offered twice the salary. Maybe her best friend started a company. We don't know. Kurt has kept his job because he's the CEO's nephew. Do we have any evidence to suggest that? We do not. Kurt might be great at his job. We don't know. Nia prefers her new job to her old job. Uh-oh, for people just joining us, remember, comparison answers are always very suspect of them. Do we have data on how much Nia likes her old job? And do we have data on how much Nia likes her new job? We do not. Comparison answers, we're very skeptical of them. Next one, Nia preferred her old job or her new job offer to her old job. Do we have evidence to suggest that's true? Yeah, we sure do. What's our evidence? She took the job offer. She was presented a choice. She took the job offer. And the last one, the CEO retaliates against employees who file complaints against Kurt. Do we have any evidence to suggest that's true? We don't have evidence that would rise to the level of evidence for the GRE. Do I think that HR should take a close look at that? Yes, I do. I don't think that's probably very kosher, but for the GRE, we don't have evidence to prove that that is the case. Okay, let's take a look at another one here. Again, I'll give you guys about a minute to read this, and then we're going to do the very same exercise here. About 30 more seconds. Give you about 15 more seconds. Okay, let's talk about these. So the very first one is supernova can take over a year to fade from view. We actually have that in the second paragraph. They kind of hit it on us. For those of you looking in the first paragraph and said, hey, now wait a minute, it can take weeks or months to fade from view. It's a reasonable question to ask, would that be enough for the GRE to say, if we just had that in the first paragraph, would that be enough to support that? Probably not. It would be kind of on the line. That would kind of be an unfair amount of information for them to give you, to expect you to see if that would actually support that. Could months be over 12 months? Yeah, but that's really on the line. We really have to be given the information in that second paragraph. Prior to 1604, no one had explained the origins of a supernova. Let me ask you a question. Do we have any information on what happened before 1604 and the explanations of supernova? We have no idea. We have absolutely no idea. We know that Galileo tried to do it in 1604, right? But we don't know what happened before that. We just don't know. We're not allowed to assume. Galileo proved to the philosophers the incorrectness of their view. This is where the GRE gets very, very, very nitpicky. I'm going to suggest to you guys, whenever you're in between answer choices, right? You got it down to 2 answer choices, you're just not sure which one it is. Go hyper literal on the question, and then go hyper literal on the evidence. This says Galileo proved to the philosophers. What does it say in the passage? It says he undermined the views of many philosophers. That's not the same thing. to prove it to them, the philosophers would go, oh my gosh, you're right, Galileo is absolutely wrong. But just to undermine their views is not the same thing as proving to them that they were wrong. If that just makes you want to pull your hair out, I don't blame you. Welcome to the GRE. That is on the upper levels. Those are the type of very fine distinctions that the test will expect you to make. The key to making those, hyper stupid literal of the reading of the question, hyper stupid literal reading of the evidence. All right. The same thing, I haven't changed a word in the reading. The reading is identical. First one, the supernova of 1604 dispersed mercury, gold, and silver. Before we answer that, let me ask you a question. Is a general thing a specific thing? It is not. We are told that a supernova can emit heavy elements such as mercury, gold, and silver. It can do it. Does that mean the supernova of 1604 did it? We have no idea. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but we're not told, and we can't assume. 2, Galileo explained the origins of the supernova. This is saying that he explained it. Let's see what it says in the passage. It says he sought to explain it. He tried to explain it. Is trying to explain it the same thing as actually explaining it? No. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's how nitpicky this thing gets. The public was interested in hearing lectures about the phenomena. Oftentimes, by the way, they will use a general word, they'll use a pronoun, or they'll refer to the phenomenon. In this case, we're talking about the supernova. Do we have evidence that the public was interested? Yeah, we do. The lectures were widely attended. There's your evidence. Galileo's lectures were opposed by philosophers. Do we have evidence that they opposed the lectures? Well, we know they undermined their views, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the lectures were opposed. We don't know that they went to the mayors and said, you can't have him, lecturing. We don't know that, they were protesting with signs outside. We don't know. All we know is that they had their views undermined. They probably weren't happy about it, but we don't have any evidence that they opposed the lectures. Supernova behavior is incompatible with the philosophy of unchanging heavens. Do we have evidence of that? Turns out we actually do. It undermined the views that the heavens were unchangeable. Right. Let's try another one. This is one of these where it is I have a little mantra here. Not understanding the passage is no excuse for not getting all the questions right. So what we're going to do, read this, try and understand it the best you can, and then we're going to go through each one of these again, and we're going to be searching for specific evidence for each one of these answer choices. So I'll give you a minute or two. This is a little denser, so I'll give you maybe 2 minutes to do this thing. Give you about another 45 seconds or so. another 10 seconds, then we're going to dive in. Okay, nothing like just, a little bit of light reading here in the afternoon. So here's the thing. We're going to go through each one of these. We're looking for evidence to support this. So the first one is the Big Bang produced a cycle of expansion and contraction in the universe. I want to talk a little bit about this. They say two things in their answer choice: expansion and contraction. For this to be right, we have to find evidence of expansion and contraction. Now we might, but we gotta find it both. So let's look around here. Let's see what we see. You know what I see? By the way, I'm scanning for words. I'm literally scanning for that X in expansion to find it. And I got it right there. Expand and cool. We got expand. Is anyone seeing contraction? Cooling isn't the same as contraction. They want you to think it is, but it's not. No, we only get one, and we have to get both for it to be right. That's not right. If the temperature goes above 10 billion degrees, subatomic particles such as neutrons and protons will transmute into each other. There is a phrase here that I want to get you guys really sensitive to. Will transmute. Would, will, have to. That is a 100% guarantee that it will happen. All right. I think we can find where the evidence is located, because that 10 billion degree thing we got kind of sitting up there in the first paragraph there. And what does it say in order to get the stuff to transmute? Well, if you're over 10 billion degrees, all right, like that, energetic electrons, neutrons, and positrons, no idea what that means, so abundant that, hang on just a second. I'm seeing the word and. Its temperature was so high, over 10 billion degrees, and energetic electrons, neutrons, and positrons were so abundant that subatomic particles, such as these, were transmuting into each other. We have to have two conditions in order to get the particles to transmute into one another. One is we got to have over 10 billion degrees, apparently. But the second is we have to have an abundance of these particles. This answer choice, it says we only need one of them, just over 10 billion degrees, and this is going to happen. That's not true. It has to be over 10 billion degrees, and you have to have an abundance of particles. It could happen if you also had abundance of particles, but it doesn't mean it will happen. All right. Positrons did not transmute into other particles. Oh my gosh. Positrons. So we know where the transmuting is taking place, kind of in the first paragraph here. Got to look for that. What does it say about positrons? Let's see. Okay, neutrons and positrons are so abundant. All right, subatomic particles such as neutrons and protons were constantly transmuting into one another. We don't get a gosh darn thing about whether positrons were transmuting into other particles. We have no idea if they did or if they didn't. We know for sure that neutrons and protons did, but we're given no evidence at all about what positrons did. We're not given the evidence. We're not allowed to assume it. Protons are more stable than neutrons. Here we go again with the comparison. We're very skeptical, but let's see if they did a comparison that actually sticks. Where do they say? We're looking for protons and neutrons here. Okay, I'm seeing proton in the bottom and the bottom of that first paragraph there. Most of the matter took the form of the most stable particle, the proton. Yeah, if the proton is the most stable, then it is more stable than a neutron. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Yeah, this is how this works. I should also say that all of these examples, super hard. Not all of the GRE is going to be this hard, but I want you guys to be able to understand how the hard stuff works. This is the splitting of these hairs very, very finely, but at the upper questions, this is exactly how they work. It's absolutely how they work. Okay, let's take a look. Same reading. You guys don't need to read it again. Let's see what we've got. Hydrogen could only be created early in the universe's existence. There's something we don't like very much here. It's hydrogen could only be created. It's a very, very strong statement. Maybe they say that it could only be created early in the universe's existence, but we have to be told that. Well, hydrogen clearly got made early in the universe's existence, but does that mean that's the only time it can get created? No. Nope, we don't know. Temperatures of about 1 billion degrees is required to start forming helium nuclei. All right, fortunately, helium and nuclei is a word that has an unusual spelling because, man, half this time just scanning. We need helium nuclei. Okay, I'm seeing nuclei. It got my attention in that second paragraph there, kind of second line. I'm seeing helium in the third one. Oh boy, we've got to get real smart on stuff we don't understand. That happens. So after a few minutes, temperature of the universe fell to about 1 billion degrees. Okay, we've got that. We can check that off. We're at about 1 billion degrees. Cool enough for protons and neutrons to bond and form a nuclei. Okay, so you've got 1 billion degrees. Now you got protons and neutrons. They're bonding. And deuterons, or however you pronounce it, I don't know, were formed as each neutron and proton found a partner. Okay, most deuterons then joined another deuteron to form a helium nucleus. Okay, let me see if I can get this in my own words, and that's a lot of what this is when this stuff gets dense, getting it in your own words. At 1 billion degrees, you get protons and neutrons start to hook up to form a nuclei. A couple of those nuclei, they form a deuteron. And then you get these deuterons together to form a helium nucleus. All of that happens at 1 billion degrees because at 1 billion degrees, it becomes cool enough for the protons and neutrons to start that process. Notice it doesn't say it will happen. It's just one of the requirements for it to happen. All of that. Holy cow. Yeah. And the last one, fusion into heavier elements is associated with a relatively hot and dense universe. This, by the way, is classic GRE thinking at the upper levels. What does it say about this? It says as the universe continued to expand and cool, its density became too low to allow further fusion into heavier elements. What? Okay, this is kind of inside out thinking. So when the density becomes low and the temperature becomes cool, there is no fusion into heavy elements. Okay, got it, which means, and the GRE will expect you then to turn that on its head, and then means that hotter temperatures and higher densities are then required to get fusion into heavier elements. This one is correct. Very, very tricky. Okay. One more game that they love to play, and this is actually a shortcut for you guys, and it works like this. Oftentimes on multiple paragraphs, they will break the paragraphs down into very specific subject matters. And so they will, for example, on this paragraph, first paragraph is all about the first few seconds. Second paragraph is all about the first few minutes, and then they're going to ask you a question about the first few seconds. Any evidence that we find for any answer choice must be contained in the first paragraph because the first paragraph is about the first few seconds. So let's see what we got. First, the great majority of neutrons were incorporated into helium molecules. That is absolutely correct, but it does not occur in the first paragraph. It occurs in the second paragraph. That's not right. In the first few seconds, the temperature was not high enough to allow for the formation of deuterons. First of all, I don't see the word deuteron in the first paragraph, so there's no way we're going to find evidence for it in the first paragraph. Secondly, we had temperatures that were really high in the beginning in the first few seconds, so that can't be right. Third, matter formed. Do we have anything that indicates that matter formed in that first paragraph? Yeah, most of the matter took the form. Boom. And then finally, vast number of subatomic particles rapidly metamorphosed into other types of particles. This is basically, they're giving you a vocabulary test here. To metamorph is to change, so it's the same thing as transmuted. And yeah, you have that right there. So that is correct. That, guys, is how reading comp works. This idea of reading things super literally is super important. That is the key to nailing hard inference questions. So I'm going to throw this back to Nick for some exciting news.
I'm excited to announce the winner of the giveaway. And drum roll, please. The winner of tonight's giveaway is Assad. Assad, so excited to have you in our upcoming GRE bootcamp. I'll send you an email to connect and make sure you're all set. And for everyone else, we definitely would still love to have you in the program. I have sent out a link via text with the discount code to join from our event tonight. This is an exclusive discount code for folks who join this event. If you decide for any reason that you don't want to do the boot camp or it's not a great fit for you, we'll give you a full refund. So if you buy tonight and then decide tomorrow or another day that, oh, I don't have time to take the GRE this soon, totally fine. So highly encourage you to take advantage of the discount. But for everyone here, so glad you were able to make it, and definitely encourage you to book time with Bruce as well, one-on-one. He's a fantastic coach. I'm sure he'll share his info here, but man, he is, as you can see, our top GRE coach on Leland. And if you want the best of the best, he's right here.
Yeah, so one-on-one, I'd be happy to work with you one-on-one. Would love to do that for folks who are interested in that. For folks who are saying, Bruce, that's pretty expensive. Look, you're a good guy. Bruce, I'm sure you're a great teacher, but that's, pretty expensive. It's a little over my budget. It's a lot less expensive to do the boot camp, and it's going to be the highlight. It's essentially the same lessons and the same, it's the same lessons, and it is the same practice sets and pretty much same darn structure that I use with private students is what we're using with the boot camp. So it's really, really high quality and a way to, get really, really high quality test prep, if I do say so myself, at a much more reasonable price. All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much for spending some time this afternoon. Doing doing reading comp of all things. But you guys were great. I really hope it was helpful. I really hope you guys learned a whole bunch, and it was great being with you. And I really hope to see you guys on the boot camp. I'm really excited for that. All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Bruce.
Bye-bye.